and rambling. Right.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. We are recording now, and I am here with Ryan, who just came home after a night shift. So, good morning, Ryan. And
Morning.
we're going to ramble a bit today, because Ryan and me, we've been texting back and forth this last couple of weeks, right? A little bit.
Yeah.
Um, After I made my very popular and very unpopular video about me disliking multi-launchers. I will stand by that any day. I dislike multi-launcher spam. Not multi-launchers, but multi-launcher spam. And not the player, but the build itself. I don't like it.
And I
Um,
think I was about 2 paragraphs into commenting on it when I just
yeah,
decided to send you a message like, hey, you just want to have a chat about it?
yeah, was way easier, way easier. So a lot of people basically came back to me, and there was a lot of negative feedback. A lot of it was about the word noob basher, which okay, not my word. Yeah, I'm not very invested in that. I don't really call new players noobs at all. I call them rookies, but there you go. And then there were like a few comments, like you came back to me, Russell came back, Topher as well, saying, "Well, there might be something valid in running a," and yeah, I still dislike it though. So we have a whole bunch of thoughts that you want to put out. So let's just go over them. So how do you feel about multi-launcher spam lists? Let's start with the idea of what that list is for you.
Yeah. Um I I wouldn't call it a noob basher.
Yeah,
I one I feel like that has a negative connotation to the person running the list, and that may not be their intention.
yeah,
And I also think it's too like a multi rocket launcher spam list is too random
yeah,
to be a noob basher specific, because a noob, I agree with your assessment that it's essentially it's a 33% split win lose draw
yeah,
against it,
yeah.
and I think that doesn't really matter a whole lot about the opponent going against it, whether they're a noob may be frightened when they first see those templates
Yes,
drop,
yeah,
but if the multi rockets aren't hitting, the
mm.
noob's probably going to win that game, and it might actually be a better chance of winning than say a noob coming up against your Gurkha Stewards.
So for you, it's more of the chaos of you being able to win
Yes,
33% of the time against whatever player, basically.
right. So I call those, my terminology is a LOLZ, LOLZ
Yeah,
list, or
yeah,
a chaos list.
yeah,
It's the Joker
yeah,
of the DC comics. Like they want to watch the world burn
yeah.
list. Kind of reminds me of a lot of the orc lists you used to see in 40K, where it's just so
So
everything's
random.
random.
Everything had random effects, and you just roll a d6, see what happens. On a
And
6,
there
you
are
win the
people
game. On a 2, 3, you lose. Whatever. Okay.
and
Yeah,
there are people that just delight in that, and I get that.
yeah,
I can see the pleasure people would have in running that. I can
yeah,
understand it.
yeah,
I personally I like multi rocket launchers, but I like them one, maybe two.
yeah.
Um,
That's it for me as well. Also because I mean, one multi-launcher gives you that ability to make the enemy, encourage the enemy to split up his army a little bit,
right.
which
And
is I think is good. Yeah,
I think why probably my this is just my hot take on why you hate them so much. The multi rocket launcher spam lists
mm,
is kind of on the flip side of them being not new bashers and not using that terminology. They disproportionately punish top table players, people that are there to win the tournament.
at least potentially. That was at
Because
least the experience I had at the WTC was that I was because my opponent was rolling well. Suddenly, I was in the process of drawing a game which I think I should have won. So
right,
yeah,
and I I don't put I personally I don't play for draws. I play for wins.
always.
Anything that's not a win is a non preferred result.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know if you know the numbers off the top of your head, but if you look at say the last 100 competitive, I'm here at a tournament, I'm here to win
Mm,
games that you've played,
yeah.
how many of those? would you say have been wins and out of the last 100?
I can more easily say the opposite. I have lost 3 games out of the last 100 competitive games I've played.
Okay, so you're looking at
If we're just talking my Gurkhas, my main, like my Brits,
right.
I have been playing not to win, but to test out partisans and stuff, and
Right.
then it's a different math. But so yeah, I am pretty much at 95, 97% with
Right.
my Brits. Yeah.
With some margin of error, we'll say
And then
95%.
there's the draws, and how many
Right.
of them are draws? There are way more wins, but there are draws there.
Right.
But yeah,
But on any given day, when you belly up to the bar, so to speak, at a
yeah,
tournament,
yeah,
when you're a top player such as yourself, you're looking at, I'm going to either in a singles tournament move myself towards top table, or I'm going to help my team 95% of the time.
yeah,
Whereas if we're looking at these multi rocket launcher list spams, that if they are rolling that hot that day, you're now down to a 33% chance to, again, these are, I don't know what the actual numbers are, but
no, but let's just say for argument's sake that 33% is
I
maybe that.
based off
But
my experience, I would say that's
yeah,
probably a fair ballpark. So it immediately is, and if you're a poor player that loses more times than not, you're now a draw is a favorable result, and a win is definitely favorable. So you've gone
mm,
from a player who's maybe winning 5% of the time, 10% of the time. Now they're looking at a 66% chance favorable result, which
yeah.
is why I say, in my opinion, they more dramatically punish the top table players or
Just
have the
because
potential
that
to.
you. Okay,
Is
so
that
let's say that there is different elements that goes into a victory, like the
right?
player skill, how good they actually are, which is difficult to evaluate, I know, but let's just say that that is one factor. And then there's the actual list that they're using, that is also a factor. How much these are worth compared to each other, we don't actually know, but those two are factors. Then maybe there is the terrain and mission as the third factor.
Right.
So what is it that you're arguing that running a multi-launcher list does to these 3 factors here?
I would say with the list, and as you've discussed in your last video you put
Yep.
out, um, if they're just hitting on the, like, it kind of, in my opinion, negates a lot of those other factors.
Mm,
It takes them off the table as being as significant and as important. Whereas a high level player is going to utilize scenery to block lines of sight to get around stuff. If it's a building and multi launcher is hitting everything within 6 inches of it,
yeah. Yeah.
it takes a lot of, I think, those skill elements out of those other components and mitigates them
Okay. Yep.
significantly when you're doing the, like I think you said, slot machine of
Yeah, because that's
multi rock.
what it felt like for me. I see I like this. I think you are right in your assessment of why I dislike it. Yeah.
and
Um. Yeah.
and
Sorry.
again, like I said, it probably gives burn me more heartburn if I'm at a tournament, if
Mm,
especially at a singles tournament, if I run into this list, because I know, looking at them, that they are most likely not playing for top tables themselves.
yeah.
And if I'm playing for those, they have the, well, again, 33% chance that they're going to really ruin my day
Mm.
without really having the long term gas in the tank to get themselves realistically towards the top table.
At least that's at least part of what I'm seeing, because we are seeing multi-launchers be parts of lists that perform well and win tournaments, but we're not seeing like 3+ multi-launcher lists win tournaments. Is that what you're
Right.
seeing in
Yeah.
the US as
Yeah.
well?
I would say that's definitely what I've seen in my
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
I think there was maybe the Warzone Atlanta. It's possible the top table there did have a 3 maybe in the list, or, but I feel
Okay.
like that packet limited it to 2. I'm
I think so too, because John is pretty much against you spamming
yeah,
anything. So yeah.
right. So,
Mm.
yeah, I know there was some there that had a couple, but uh,
Do you think that running a multi-launcher list is then completely devoid of tactical elements for the player running it?
no, no, I'd say not. I'd say there's still you have to pick your targets. You have to pick when the order. You still have order dice that come out, and you have to
Yeah,
choose which ones to fire, when, and where you deploy them in cover, lines of sight.
yeah,
And you still have, even if you have 4 or 5 of them, you've still got all your other units that you have to use
mm,
to protect them, and how you're going to feed. If you've got 5 units of Gurkhas running across the board, you got to feed stuff into that while you're
yeah.
waiting for your multi-rocket launchers to hit. So you're not turning off that switch completely, and you're not. I don't want to entirely discredit anybody that's using one of those, because there's still decisions that go into it, because the player that you played against,
Mm.
they fought for a draw. Like, you are
They
a good
really did.
opponent,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can't just say, yeah, 7. I think you said you lost 7 units to multi-rocket
I
launchers.
did. Yeah,
That's a kick in the pants.
it is.
But but your opponent's also making choices
Yeah.
to put those multi-rocket launchers in good spots.
Mm.
Obviously, he chose the right time to fire them. He picked the right targets to maximize the damage that he could do with those
He
shots.
he he tried every single time to maximize the damage. Although I didn't give him many shots, he was just lucky with the sixes, right? I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because it will happen when you shoot a lot, right? I
Right.
mean, the sixes will crop up, but um, it did
And
end up being a lot of sixes that I took to the face, which meant that I lost a lot of units. Yeah.
right. And then you didn't win, and your team then punishes
Well,
your team as well.
yeah,
Right.
it did punish the team, but we did won the round. But yeah, but it still it pushed my overall performance down. It pushed the team down. So at least for team events, it
Right.
really it does suck. But there's also something, and you wrote this to me earlier, that there's something to be said that there is maybe a strategic reason why you would want to have a multi-launcher list in your
Yes.
team lists.
Yes. So specifically, like in the context of WTC, and I know this last year you said, like, I didn't get to go this year, but you said
Yeah.
it was random pairings.
Yeah, the pairings were
Um,
random. Yeah, so we couldn't actually decide which list was against what list.
right.
Yeah.
But in the last 2 years, the captains, for those that might not know, the captains have the ability to, in some ways, to make pairings that are
Yeah.
favorable for them.
Yeah.
And this is where maybe the last classification would be the money ball list, where you're
Mm.
maybe having your weakest player
Yeah.
run a multi-rocket launcher list, and then trying to get that pairing against your opponent's most their top player.
There's star player. Yeah.
And because if that weak player is going to take a loss anyway, or whoever if anybody on the team, if we pair up against
Mm.
Bo, we're going to have a low percent chance of victory on the strategic sense.
Yeah.
So if we can say, hey, maybe this is the 1 out of 3 time where the Rockets are all going to roll our sixes,
Yeah.
we can either force you into a draw, or
Mm.
on the best day, a loss. And
Yeah.
that's greatly increasing your weakest players' impact for the
Mm.
team. And I
Yeah.
think, especially if it's going to be a packet where you can pick
Mm.
the pairings,
Mm.
there's definitely a place for that. And it becomes less of a, I'm just here to try to roll sixes and have a good time. And it's like, I'm serving a
I'm here to
specific
take that
function.
specific hit for the team, or deliver that punch for the team. Yeah.
Right.
Makes a lot of strategic sense from the team's perspective. I think a lot of teams though would want to try and build a list that could more or less guarantee a draw, if that makes sense. If you could build a list where everything was veteran, it all had gun shields, you could sit behind hard cover all the time, just be on ambush, and you
Right.
could guarantee the draw. I think some people would actually go with that. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, and I wonder if you could pair, like, if you take the multi-rocket launcher spam and then and veteran infantry. You're
Yeah,
not like, no flamethrowers, no
nothing.
tanks,
Nope.
no nothing. It's literally, I'm going to run my guys up. Like, maybe if I'm trying to think if there's a way, like say a veteran, like a German. SS list, like where you can
Yeah.
get fanatics or something
Yeah.
like that, and pair it with like Nebel Warfers or whatever, and you could have that veteran fanatics that aren't going to break and run,
Yeah.
that you just run them up and drop them on the
Sit on
objective,
ambush. Yeah.
and then fire as many, try to roll as many sixes as you can while you're going down on the. And then, I mean, I think that in a team tournament could be a very legitimate option.
At least if you could match them up with the with a list you think, well, this opponent has the best chance of gaining that victory against us. We I don't think we can win against him. Let's see if we can just throw someone at him that can go down and stay alive.
Right.
Basically,
And
I know
if I'm the one that,
my team have done this at least, so I know
right.
this tactic very well. Yeah.
And I think that would give me, if I'm the one on the opposite side of the table, hoping that he rolls 1 to 5s, I think it would give me less heartburn in that context, because I understand what the team is trying to do, and that it's not just like if I was in a, say, a 1-day turn, say I drive 3 hours to go to because here in the US it's not uncommon to drive 2 to 5 hours to go to a 1-day 3-round tournament.
Yeah, true.
One way. And I get there and I've brought my army that I've spent hours painting and planning, and I get there and say round 2 I pair against him multi-rocket launcher spam, and he just rolls hot. And now I don't have any chance to get to, like,
and your day is ruined.
I'm done. I think the analogy of it's like playing Monopoly with a bunch of your friends and your little brother who's sells all of his properties for $1 to somebody else just so that you don't win.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if you guys play Monopoly over there.
Oh yeah. I stopped doing it because the family wouldn't let me, because I turned into the most evil capitalist you could possibly imagine. I was like, no, I'm not going to trade with you. I'm ahead. Whatever, go away. And the family were like, but that's not how. Yeah, it is. It's a game about the evils of capitalism. Come on.
I'm shocked.
Yeah. Anyways, so even in family games, I turn into a little bit of a win at all coster. Sorry.
Well, good for you. Builds character.
Yeah, that's what I told my kids. They didn't believe me. Right.
My only other kind of tag along point, unless you had anything else to add at this point, was possible things for 48 points for a land mattress inexperienced. I think its impact on the game
massively outweighs. Yeah.
It's frustrating to me anytime I come to build a list and I see like, okay, maybe I'm going to a beginner's tournament, so I take something else, an anti-tank gun or something. But like, if I'm going to play competitive, if this is really the only, like, when you only have one choice in an artillery slot, I'm not going to pay 100 and some points for a howitzer when I can take this for 48 points and have a dramatic impact on my opponents.
How much do you actually find that running multi-launchers? I know you've run multi-launchers, I've run multi-launchers. Not spams, but like having a single one. Do you think it affects the game in your win draw loss ratio?
I would say so. I've improved as I've had them. My ratios have gone up. I think some games they don't hit anything, of course. Some games they do, but it definitely, especially with the way that I run veteran tough fighters.
Yeah, you
like
do.
You run the Gurkhas. Being able, if there's anything I can do to get my opponent to spread his forces out, and I can keep mine concentrated.
Yeah.
That the multi-launcher, if it doesn't hit anything all game, but it forced him to deploy weird, that gives me a huge advantage.
Yeah, Napoleon was right. Concentration of force, it wins the battles. It does. It really does.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
But I think there's some things, my thought, and again, so whenever we get our version 3 right, and not that anybody's going to listen to me, I think it would be interesting to see if every time you fire the multi-rocket launcher, it takes D2 or D3 pins itself. So
like the M30, the Soviet version of a heavy multi-launcher?
Yeah, I feel like on that one, it forces you to rally after you shoot it. Correct?
Yeah, because otherwise it's unloaded, so you have to rally.
And I don't I don't think, because I thought about that as well, but I think for the lighter versions on the crude ones,
Just a few
just
pins.
taking that like random number of pins,
Mm.
it allows, now that adds some tactical elements to using a multi-rocket launcher. Like, do I want to wait a turn to use it because I think I'm going to have better opportunity next turn? I don't want to accrue those pins.
Yep.
Or do I get, maybe I roll a 1 and I just take 1 pin? Like, maybe I'll risk the order check now.
Yeah.
Or maybe I now think, it might be worth paying the extra points to take a regular or a veteran one to get the increased
Or to
leadership.
take a higher level officer, because you might need
Right.
the morale bonus. Yeah.
Right. So then that forces you to consider putting more point investment into it, therefore increasing the overall
Yeah.
aggregate cost of the actual unit. I and you can, if you're the person who just likes going out and rolling dice, is like, hell, I took 3 pins, we'll give it a shot.
and then you've catered to the chaos orc players as well, the
Right.
lols players, because
Right.
that's chaos.
Yep.
I like
And
the idea. Yeah.
and I think at the price point it's at, I always like to, I'm not saying this to rain on somebody else's parade, because I also take them, and I would, if I took D3 pins after firing it, would I still take it at the price point that it's at? And I probably would.
Probably. Probably. I for Brits, for assault armies. I mean, if I could take them for Polish lancers, oh my god, that would be brilliant. Because the ability to spread out your opponent when you're playing assault or push armies, that's so good. So yeah, definitely would. Right, Ryan. Final comments. Otherwise, then that was it from us today.
Nope, I think that's it.
That was it. Thank you all for tuning in. Ryan, thank you so much for your thoughts on this. Let's see how many dislikes we can get on this one.
New record.
A new record. Right. See you, everyone. Cheers.